In the crystalline chambers of the Galactic Council's central spire on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Thera Valen watched the voting screens with mounting dread. The numbers scrolled upward, each increment another voice against Earth's inclusion in the Galactic Defense Alliance. Her iridescent scales dulled, a physiological response her species displayed when experiencing profound disappointment. The Council Chamber, typically a marvel of alien architecture, with its floating platforms and quantum light displays, felt oppressive today. 2,000 representatives from across the known galaxy had gathered for this historic vote, their varied forms creating a tapestry of evolutionary diversity. Some floated in containment fields, others merged with mechanical interfaces, while many, like Thera, stood on the traditional speaking platforms. The vote stands at 78% against Earth's inclusion, announced High Counselor Zaxrem, his energy form pulsing with what Thera recognized as satisfaction. With majority achieved, Earth's application for membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance is hereby rejected. Thera's inner membranes flickered in frustration. As Earth's strongest advocate in the Council, she had spent the last 3 cycles arguing for humanity's inclusion. She had presented evidence of their rapid technological advancement, their incredible adaptability, and their unique problem-solving capabilities. But fear had won out over reason. "High Counselor," she called out, her translator converting her harmonic speech into standard galactic common. "I request permission to speak before the final seal." Zaxrem's energy form dimmed slightly, the equivalent of a frown. "Granted, Ambassador Valen, though I remind you that the vote is concluded." Thera moved her platform forward, addressing the assembled representatives. "Honored members of the Council, we are making a grave mistake. Earth's exclusion from the Alliance isn't just short-sighted, it's dangerous. We all know the reports of the Void Swarm's expansion. Their synthetic organic ships have already consumed 3 systems in the Perseus Arm." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Void Swarm was a topic most preferred to avoid, though its threat loomed larger each cycle. "Precisely why we cannot risk including such an unpredictable species," interrupted Counselor Nevtak, his crystalline form refracting light in agitated patterns. "Humans are chaos incarnate. They defy protocols, ignore established hierarchies, and their solutions often create more problems than they solve." "They survived first contact with the Harvesters," Thera countered. "The only species to ever do so without Alliance support. Their orbital defense platforms repelled a Class 5 invasion force using technology centuries behind our own. They turned their planet's magnetic field into a weapon. Who else would have even conceived of such a strategy?" "That is exactly our point," Zaxrem interjected. "Their methods are too extreme, too innovative. The Alliance requires stability, predictability. Earth's inclusion would destabilize millennia of established protocols." Thera noticed several representatives shifting uncomfortably. They knew she spoke truth, but fear of change outweighed fear of future threats. "Then let the record show that I formally protest this decision," she declared. "And when the time comes that we need Earth's unique capabilities, I pray they remember who stood with them." As she returned to her platform, Thera's communicator vibrated. A message from her human contact at their embassy on Nexus Prime. "Decision received. Initiating Protocol Omega. Thank you for everything, Ambassador." The briefness of the message concerned her. In her years working with humans, she had learned that their terseness often masked their most significant actions. In the following days, Earth's response to their rejection surprised everyone. There were no protests, no diplomatic outrage, no threats of isolation. Their embassies continued to function, trade remained steady, and their military forces maintained their usual patrol patterns along their sector borders. But Thera noticed the subtle changes. Mining operations in the Kuiper Belt increased threefold. Power signatures from Jupiter's orbital stations grew exponentially. Shipping manifests showed massive increases in raw materials being transported to Earth's lunar facilities. 6 months after the vote, Thera received another message from her human contact. "Ambassador, We'd like to invite you to witness Project Prometheus. Your support hasn't been forgotten. The coordinates led to a facility hidden in Earth's asteroid belt. What she saw there would keep her awake for many cycles to come. Humanity hadn't been idle in their rejection. They had been preparing. As she watched the demonstration of their new quantum phase shields, technology that by all rights should have been centuries beyond their capability, her scales shifted to the deep blue of revelation. The Council hadn't just made a mistake in rejecting Earth. They had given humanity the one thing that always spurred them to their greatest achievements, something to prove. When the first reports of void swarm ships breaching Alliance space reached Nexus Prime, Thera thought back to that facility in the asteroid belt. She knew then that the Council's decision wouldn't just change Earth's future, it would reshape the galaxy itself. Because while the Alliance had been congratulating themselves on maintaining their precious stability, humanity had been doing what they did best, preparing for the impossible, imagining the unthinkable, and building the inconceivable. The galaxy was about to learn why challenging human determination was the greatest mistake any species could make. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewing window of Lunar Base Alpha, watching Earth rotate slowly in the void. The blue marble that had cradled humanity now seemed smaller somehow, especially against the backdrop of humanity's greatest engineering achievement to date. The massive structure taking shape in lunar orbit was officially designated as Solar Research Station 7. Unofficially, the personnel called it the Forge. Its true purpose was known to only a handful of individuals across Earth's combined government. "Status report," she commanded, not turning from the window. Dr. James Martinez, chief of Project Prometheus, pulled up a holographic display. "Phase shield tests are exceeding expectations. We've successfully replicated the energy absorption properties we observed in the Harvester artifacts. But we've gone further. The shields don't just absorb energy now, they redirect it." Sarah finally turned, her expression stern but her eyes bright with interest. "Show me." The hologram shifted to display test footage. A destroyer-class vessel, unmanned and retrofitted with the new shield system, faced a barrage of conventional Alliance-level weapons. The shields didn't just stop the incoming fire. They caught it, transformed it, and sent it back with devastating precision. "How did we solve the heat dissipation problem?" Sarah asked, remembering the early prototypes that had melted under similar stress. James smiled, the kind of smile that only came from solving an impossible problem. "We didn't. Instead, we learned from the tardigrades. Remember those microscopic creatures that can survive in space? We developed a quantum state similar to their cryptobiosis. The shields don't get hot because they temporarily exist outside conventional thermodynamics." "That's..." Sarah paused, searching for the right word. "Impossible." "That's humanity," James corrected. "When the Alliance rejected us, they did us a favor. No oversight, no regulations, no one telling us to slow down or stick to established principles. We've achieved more in 18 months than we would have in a decade under Alliance protocols." Sarah nodded, turning back to the window. The Forge's true purpose wasn't just to build weapons or shields. It was creating technologies that broke the very rules the Alliance held sacred. And it wasn't the only project in motion. "Update from Mars Command," her AI assistant chimed in. "Project Lazarus is ready for demonstration." "Right on schedule," Sarah murmured. "Have they solved the consciousness transfer issues?" "Better," James replied. "They found a way to preserve original consciousness while creating quantum duplicates. One human mind can now simultaneously pilot up to 12 combat frames. We're not just making better weapons, Admiral. We're evolving humanity itself." Sarah absorbed this information, remembering the Alliance's primary criticism, that humans were too unpredictable, too willing to push boundaries. If they could see what that very trait had produced. An alert flashed across her neural interface. "Priority message from Deep Space Array Theta," she announced. "They've detected something massive entering the galaxy through the Perseus void. Early analysis suggests it matches theoretical models of the void swarm." James's expression darkened. How long? At current velocity, they'll reach Alliance space in 6 months, Earth space in 8. Sarah's voice was calm, but her mind was racing through calculations and scenarios. Are we ready? James gestured to the forge. The phase shield technology is ready for mass production. Lazarus pilots can be trained within 3 months. Project Prometheus itself. He paused, looking at the massive structure that dominated the lunar horizon. We can have the first wave of ships ready in 4 months. Full fleet deployment in 6. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. And the Alliance doesn't suspect anything. Their observers report exactly what we want them to see. A defeated Earth, quietly accepting their rejection, focusing on civilian projects and basic defense. James chuckled. Their latest intelligence report still lists us as a Category 3 civilization. Good. Sarah opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Initiate Phase 2 of Protocol Omega. I want all sleeper shipyards activated. Begin mass production of phase shield systems and Lazarus frames. And she paused, weighing her next words carefully. Wake the Titans. James's eyes widened. The deep space defense platforms. Are you sure? Once we activate them, there's no hiding what we've become. The Void Swarm is coming, Sarah stated firmly. The Alliance will fail. Their rigid thinking and outdated tactics won't stand a chance. When that happens, they'll come to us for help. And we'll be ready not just with weapons and shields, but with a completely new way of fighting. Outside the window, the forge hummed with activity, its quantum forges and reality-bending factories working at full capacity. Humanity had spent 18 months preparing for this moment, turning their rejection into the greatest advancement in human history. The Alliance had feared human unpredictability. Soon, they would learn to be grateful for it, because while they had been watching for signs of rebellion or protest, humanity had quietly transformed itself into something unprecedented. A civilization that didn't just push boundaries, but broke them entirely. And as the Void Swarm approached, bringing with it a darkness that threatened all life in the galaxy, Earth stood ready. Not as the rejected applicant to the Alliance, but as something far more dangerous. A species with something to prove, the means to prove it, and an enemy worthy of their full potential. High Counselor Zaxrem's energy form pulsed erratically as he watched the tactical display. The Void Swarm had breached the Alliance's outermost defense line, as if it weren't there. 3 centuries of carefully planned defensive protocols had crumbled in less than 6 hours. Status of the Centauri Defense Fleet, he demanded. Fleet Commander Nexver's hologram flickered with interference. Lost, Counselor. The Swarm. They adapted to our shield frequencies. Everything we throw at them, they absorb and turn against us. The Centauri system is. Static interrupted the transmission briefly. Is lost. We've evacuated who we could. In the council chamber, representatives from across the Alliance watched in horror as another red dot appeared on the strategic map. Another system fallen. The Void Swarm moved like a living tide of darkness, their biomechanical ships consuming everything in their path. Ambassador Theravalon stood at her platform, her scales now a deep gray of mourning. How many? She asked quietly. 4 billion on Centauri Prime alone, Nextver reported. The swarm doesn't just destroy, they transform. Every ship we lose becomes part of their fleet. Every world they take becomes a spawning ground for more of their kind. Zaxrem's form dimmed to nearly nothing, a sign of extreme distress. Our most advanced weapons are useless. They adapt too quickly. Even our quantum lock shields fail within minutes of engagement. Perhaps, Theris adjusted carefully, it's time to reconsider our options. Everyone knew what she meant. The chamber fell silent, the only sound the constant update of casualty reports and system-wide evacuations. We cannot, Zaxrem insisted, though his energy form wavered. To ask for Earth's help now, after rejecting them. And what could they possibly offer? Their technology is centuries behind ours. A new hologram appeared. Admiral Crix of the Third Fleet. Counselor, we've detected unusual activity in Earth space. They're defense platforms. They're different. Our sensors can barely read them. And their ships. The transmission cut off abruptly. Thera stepped forward. I've seen what they've been building. While we congratulated ourselves on our superiority, they were preparing for exactly this kind of threat. Let me contact their command. Before Zaxrem could respond, the tactical display changed dramatically. The Void Swarm had altered course. They were no longer moving system by system through Alliance space. They were heading directly for Earth. By the first light, someone whispered, "They'll be wiped out." Thera's scales shifted to a color none had seen before. Not fear, not worry, but anticipation. "No," she said, "they won't." In Earth's solar system, Admiral Sarah Chen received the update with calm precision. The Void Swarm had changed course, just as their simulations had predicted. The enemy's adaptive capabilities meant they would naturally be drawn to the greatest potential threat. "All Lazarus pilots, link to your combat frames," she ordered. "Titan platforms, power up. Project Prometheus, commence final sequence." Across the solar system, humanity's true power began to reveal itself. The Titan platforms, massive space stations that had appeared dormant, transformed, quantum weapons unlike anything the galaxy had seen before emerging from their surfaces. The Forge's purpose became clear as it released waves of ships that defied conventional physics. And in high orbit around Mars, the Lazarus pilots interfaced with their combat frames. 12 minds working as one, each pilot controlling a squadron of advanced fighters through quantum consciousness streaming. They moved with impossible coordination, their neural networks operating at speeds that made them seem prescient. "Admiral," her eye reported, "the Void Swarm will reach Jupiter's orbit in 30 minutes. Alliance intelligence satellites are attempting to observe our preparations. Should we maintain our stealth fields?" Sarah smiled. "No. Let them see. It's time the galaxy understood exactly what they rejected." She opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Admiral Chen. For 18 months, we've prepared for this moment. The Alliance feared our unpredictability, our tendency to ignore conventions and break rules. They were right to fear it, because today, that very trait will save them." The Forge's production reached its peak, reality-bending energy cascading through space as it created weapons that shouldn't exist. The Titan platforms moved into formation, their quantum weapons creating a web of destructive potential that could reshape space itself. "The Void Swarm adapts to everything it encounters," Sarah continued. "But it can't adapt to what it can't comprehend. And humanity, we specialize in the incomprehensible." In Alliance space, the Council watched in stunned silence as their sensors revealed the true extent of Earth's preparations. Thera's scales shifted to brilliant gold, the color of vindication. "You see," she said to no one in particular, "this is why I fought for their inclusion. The Alliance builds walls to keep chaos at bay. Humanity, they learn to surf the chaos itself." As the Void Swarm approached, humanity stood ready to demonstrate why they had earned their reputation for defying expectations. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous force isn't the enemy you face, it's the ally you rejected. The void between Jupiter and Mars erupted with light as humanity made its stand. The Void Swarm emerged from hyperspace like a tide of living darkness, their biomechanical ships moving with an organic fluidity that defied conventional space combat tactics. But Earth was ready. "Lazarus Squadron, engage primary defense pattern." Admiral Chen commanded from her position aboard the Earth command carrier Prometheus. "Titan platforms, initiate quantum web protocol." The response was immediate and breathtaking. 12 Lazarus pilots, each controlling their own squadron of mirror-linked fighters, moved as one vast consciousness. Their ships danced through space in patterns that seemed random but carried deeper purpose. They were painting a target zone. Behind them, The massive Titan platforms hummed to life. These weren't just defense stations. They were reality anchors, designed to impose human-defined physics on space itself. Energy beams connected them in a complex geometric pattern, creating a quantum web that would turn space itself into a weapon. Void swarm entering the engagement zone, reported the AI. Their adaptation protocols are active. They're already analyzing our first wave of defenses. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Good. Let them try to adapt to this. The front edge of the swarm hit the quantum web. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself shuddered. The web wasn't trying to destroy the swarm. It was changing the fundamental rules of reality within its boundary. The swarm's adaptive capabilities meant nothing if the very laws of physics they were trying to adapt to kept changing. Phase shield fleet, move to position, Sarah ordered. Execute Operation Mobius. The ships that emerged from behind Mars were unlike anything the observing Alliance fleet had ever seen. Their hulls seemed to exist in multiple states at once, their shields not deflecting energy, but catching it, twisting it, reshaping it into new forms. As the Void Swarm fired their energy weapons, the Phase Shield fleet didn't just absorb the attacks. They turned them into fuel for their own impossible weapons. In the Alliance observation fleet, Ambassador Thera watched with her scales, shifting through colors of awe and vindication. "Do you understand now?" she asked the stunned High Counselor Zaxrem. This is why Earth was different. They didn't just advance their technology. They reimagined what technology could be. The battle unfolded like a dance of chaos and order. The Void Swarm, for the first time in its known history, began to falter. Its adaptive capabilities, which had made it invincible against conventional forces, became a weakness. Every time it adapted to one set of physics, the quantum web would shift, introducing new rules, new possibilities, new ways for reality itself to behave. "They're attempting to breach the Mars defense line," the AI reported. "Swarm units are showing signs of confusion. Their adaptive algorithms are failing to establish stable patterns." "Now," Sarah commanded, "initiate Project Prometheus." The Forge, which had been quietly building energy for hours, activated its primary system. This wasn't just another weapon. It was humanity's ultimate statement about their place in the cosmos. The massive structure began to glow with impossible colors, its quantum forges tapping into something beyond normal space. "Prometheus engaging," the AI confirmed. "Reality restructuring in progress." The space around the forge began to twist. The Void Swarm, already struggling with the constantly changing physics of the quantum web, found itself caught in a zone where causality itself was being rewritten. Their adaptive capabilities tried to compensate, but how does one adapt to a reality where cause and effect are suggestions rather than laws? The battle turned into a slaughter, but not through conventional means. The Void Swarm wasn't being destroyed. It was being unmade. Ships that had consumed entire civilizations found themselves existing in geometries that couldn't support their form. Adaptive algorithms that had overcome every defense encountered in the galaxy crashed against the simple fact that the rules they were trying to adapt to no longer existed in any stable form. "By the first light," whispered an Alliance observer, "they're not just fighting the swarm. They're changing the nature of space itself." Sarah watched as humanity's greatest achievement reshaped the battlefield. The Forge wasn't just a weapon or a defense system. It was proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their determination, but their ability to look at the impossible and say, "Why not?" "Admiral," the AI reported, "Void Swarm cohesion is failing. Their central consciousness is attempting to retreat, but the quantum web has them trapped. Shall we proceed with final containment?" Sarah looked at the tactical display, watching as humanity's impossible dream became reality. "Execute final phase. Let's show the galaxy exactly what they rejected when they turned us away." As the Forge's power reached its peak, as the quantum web tightened its grip on space itself, as the Lazarus squadrons danced their deadly pattern through the chaos, The Alliance fleet watched in stunned silence. They had rejected Earth for being too unpredictable, too willing to break convention. Now that very unpredictability was saving the galaxy, and humanity was about to demonstrate why being different, being willing to imagine the impossible, wasn't just an advantage. It was the key to survival itself. In the aftermath of the battle, the solar system grew quiet again. The quantum web powered down, its reality-bending energies fading back into normal space. The forge's glow dimmed to a soft luminescence, and the Lazarus squadrons returned to their bases. Where the void swarm had been, there was now only empty space and scattered remnants of their biomechanical ships, fragments that could never adapt again. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the Alliance Council chamber, her dress uniform pristine, her posture relaxed but commanding. The same representatives who had voted to exclude Earth now sat in stunned silence as she delivered humanity's message. The void swarm has been eliminated, she stated simply. Not just defeated, eliminated. The quantum restructuring process has ensured they cannot reform or adapt. The threat to our galaxy is over. High Counselor Zaxstrem's energy form pulsed with complex emotions. Admiral Chen, the Alliance, we owe humanity a debt we can never repay. Our rejection of Earth was... He paused, his form flickering. A mistake of historic proportions. Was it? Sarah asked, her voice carrying no hint of bitterness. Your rejection forced us to think differently, to push boundaries we might never have approached under Alliance oversight. Sometimes the greatest innovations come from necessity. Ambassador Theravalon moved her platform forward, her scales now shimmering with the deep blue of profound respect. The technology you displayed, the phase shields, the quantum web, the reality manipulation, it shouldn't have been possible. How did you achieve so much in just 18 months? Sarah smiled. By embracing what you feared about us, our unpredictability, our willingness to ignore conventional wisdom, our tendency to ask why not instead of accepting established limits. The Forge wasn't just a shipyard. It was a manifestation of human potential when freed from artificial constraints. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives debated among themselves, their voices a mixture of awe, fear, and desperate curiosity. Sarah waited patiently until Zaxstrem called for order. Earth has proven itself beyond any doubt, he declared. We formally invite humanity to join the Alliance, not as a member, but as a full partner in guiding the galaxy's future. Will you accept? Sarah's expression remained neutral. That decision isn't mine to make, but I can tell you humanity's conditions. She activated a holographic display, showing the Forge and the network of Titan platforms. We won't dismantle our defenses, we won't limit our research, and we won't conform to protocols that stifle innovation. You ask us to accept a potential military power greater than the entire Alliance fleet. One representative objected. No, Sarah corrected. We ask you to accept that progress doesn't always follow a predictable path. The same technology that saved the galaxy could open new frontiers of exploration, healing, and understanding, but only if we're free to imagine the impossible. Thera moved closer to Sarah, her scales shifting to match the gold of her uniform. You've changed everything, she said quietly. Not just our understanding of technology, but of possibility itself. That's what humans do, Sarah replied. We change things, sometimes by choice, sometimes by necessity, but always with the belief that there's more to discover, more to achieve, more to become. The council deliberated for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The galaxy had witnessed what humanity could achieve, and more importantly, they had seen how humans wielded such power, not for conquest or dominion, but for protection and progress. 1 month later, Earth signed the new Alliance Charter, not as a subordinate member, but as an equal partner. The Forge became a symbol of cooperation, its quantum laboratories open to scientists from across the galaxy. The Lazarus program began training pilots from other species, teaching them to expand their consciousness beyond normal limits. In her office overlooking the forge, Sarah reviewed reports of new discoveries and innovations. The rejection that had once seemed like a diplomatic disaster had become the catalyst for humanity's greatest leap forward. They had proven themselves not through conquest or intimidation, but by facing an impossible challenge and reimagining what was possible. Admiral, her eye interrupted, we're receiving requests from 17 Alliance worlds for assistance in establishing quantum research facilities, and Ambassador Thera reports that applications for Earth's new scientific exchange program have exceeded all projections. Sarah smiled, watching as a new ship emerged from the forged quantum forges, a vessel designed to explore the spaces between realities. Send them all the same response. Welcome to the future. It's more incredible than any of us imagined. The galaxy had feared human unpredictability. Now they understood that this very trait, this willingness to defy convention, to imagine the impossible, to surf the edge of chaos itself, wasn't just humanity's greatest strength. It was the key to unlocking the universe's deepest mysteries. And as humanity stepped into its new role, not as supplicants, but as pioneers, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter. The age of limitation was over. The age of imagination had begun.